Good morning to a brand new day. Time to learn and games to play. Learning things is so much fun. Learning is good for everyone.
I wonder what I should read today. Hi, hey third grade, it's Mrs. Nix. I am so excited to be here with you and support you as you become amazing thinkers, readers, and writers. I was just checking out our Sora app and trying to decide what fun book I'd like to read. Are you reading something really good right now? I'd love to hear about it. You know what you could do? You could send me an email or a letter to the address that's going to pop up right there at the bottom of your screen and tell me about it. What is it that you're reading? I love hearing about what you are learning about. If you do that, I'll make sure that I put in the mail for you a free copy of this super fun activity book. It's full of puzzles and mystery pages, dot-to-dots, all sorts of fun activities. All right, third grade. Speaking of reading, if you're looking for a great book to read, there's a couple of places that I recommend. One would be your county library. You can always check out a good book through them. And here in Fresno Unified, we use the Sora app to help us find some really great, fantastic books. And they're right there at your fingertips, right? Now, we also love to celebrate our schools who are checking out books using the Sora app. And we count down the top 5 schools that have checked out books from last week. So in 4th place this week, we have Jackson Elementary. So great job, Jackson. You guys are doing a fantastic job of checking out your books. Now, if you would love to have your school up here on our poster, our little shout out board, it's super easy. All you need to do is check out a book and maybe tell a classmate or two. They can join you. Awesome job. Okay, third grade, I have 3 things we're going to go through today. The first being that we're going to talk about inflectional endings, we're going to look at suffixes, and then we're going to finish off our day with homophones. Are you ready to start? Okay, let's start by warming up those super smart brains of yours and look at our high frequency words. Now remember, these are those words we come across often in our reading and writing, and so we want to make sure that we're not only able to read them, but to write them. So if there's one today that you see that you want a little extra practice with, remember you're responsible for your learning success, so write those down and practice them. You'll have it by the end of the week. I know that. All right, you read them big and loud at home. I'll read them down here in the studio. Let's go together. Ready? Work, would, word, with, wish, will, who, why, white, which. Nicely done. Now, I have 2 words we're going to practice today. So, we have word, which is W-O-R-D, and with, W-I-T-H. Okay, help me use them in a couple of sentences. Okay, can you think of another for said? And do you need help the dishes? Do you need help word the dishes? That doesn't make sense. Do you need help with the dishes? Ooh, I could always use some help with the dishes. And can you think of another word for said? Do you ever hear your teachers telling you that? Can you think of some other words for said? It's a great thing. All right. Let's get started with those inflectional endings. Now remember, inflectional endings, it's making the word plural. We're adding the letter S. It's making that word be a past tense by adding ed, or present tense and adding the ing. So it's adding S, adding ed, or adding ing to a word. And there were some things we've been practicing over the last few weeks. And this is kind of that review week where we're going to go through and remember some of our rules. So when I have a word like hope that ends with an E, and I want to say she hopes that she can go to college, do I add an S or an ES? That's right, I'm just going to add an S because it already has that E right there. So hopes, she hopes. Okay, now When do I add that ES? Here's an example, a perfect example. So the word is box. It ends with the letter X. Anytime we have that SH, CH, X, double S's, we're going to add ES. So boxes, great. Now, this word here is a wonderful one for us to talk about. This is the word wrap. Now, wrap has a vowel and then a consonant, and that vowel is a short vowel sound. So before I can add ed or ing, I need to do something with this consonant. Can you remember? Yes, I want to double that consonant. That little doubling that consonant kind of protects that short vowel. Let's have it be wrapped. She wrapped the gift. And so I want to double the consonant before I add that ed. Now here's the word achieve, and I want to add ing to the word achieve. Now it ends with an E. What do I need to do with that E before I add ing? I simply need to drop it. So I'm going to cover it up just like that. Do you see how we did that? Achieving. Great job. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about are our suffixes. Now we've been talking about prefixes and root words and base words and suffixes, because we want to be able to see and recognize those little chunks in our words so that we can take those words that are multisyllabic and really big and long, and we want to be able to chunk them into manageable parts. So when we look over here and we're thinking about suffixes, we're training our brain to start recognizing these chunks of words, and every time we see them, we know what they're going to say. For example, when we see LESS, what do we say? Less, good. And full, oh, you guys are great. And able, okay, perfect. So now let's remember, because I'm always wanting us to be good thinkers, what does less mean? Yes, it means without. So if I'm breath and I'm without breath, then I would say I'm breathless. So sometimes when you go on a hike, you can become very breathless as you're climbing up the mountain, right? All right. How about sorrow? Sorrow just means that you're full of, or that it's sadness. And if we're full of sadness, if the song was very full of sadness, we would say the song was very sorrowful. It's a sorrowful song. It's very sad. And then able means can be done, or it's fit, or it's good for something. So to agree is simply that you both believe something. But if we say that we are agreeable, it means that it can be, we're a good fit. We're very agreeable. We fit together well. Okay, so let's practice some of this and see what it would look like as we go through this together. So thinking about some of that spelling practice with those inflectional endings. Now remember, when we see those inflectional endings, S, ED, ING, we're going to add them. If it's a word that's ending in a vowel and a consonant, don't forget to double that consonant before adding that ED or ING. And that most words that end with E, we want to remember to drop that final E before adding ED or ING. Okay, let's go through it. So name, we want to be able to change it to names. And there's nothing that we have to do with that. We simply just add that S. It was very easy. How about dropping? What do we need to do with drop? Was there anything? Do we have a short vowel? Yes, we do. So what do we need to do? Are we just going to write D-R-O-P-I-N-G? No, because that would change it to droping, and that's not even a word. Double that final P, then add ing. Great. How about hoped? If we want to have hope plus that ed, what do we need to remember? That's right, we want to drop the E first. So H-O-P, drop the E, and then add ed, because we only want to have one E. How about raced? Yeah, it's the same thing, just like what we did up here with hoped. We're going to have raced, so drop that E and then add ed. Fantastic. Now, here's an opportunity for us to practice some of those suffixes that are down here. So we've got some definitions here, and then we're going to take these words that have these different suffixes, the full, less, and able, we're going to put those words here. So full of care, let's look at our choices. Washable, painless, harmless, careful. So full of care is, oh, I can hear you guys all the way down here. That's awesome. Yes, careful. Can be washed. If something can be washed, it is washable. Yes. Without harm. Without harm. Painless or harmless. You got it. It's got the word harm right here, and it's without harm, so it's harmless. And last one, without pain, kind of the same thing. Painless. You got it. All right, fantastic. Let's switch gears for our last little bit of learning today. We're going to talk about homographs. Homo means one, graph means something that is written down, so it's the same words, one spelling. Words with the same spelling, but they have different meanings. Okay, we talked about fall and bat yesterday. I'm going to talk about saw today. So saw has two meanings. It can be using your eyes and you see something. It can also be something that you use to cut, say, wood or something of that nature. How about the word tie? It has two meanings, like a necktie. Maybe your dad or your uncle or grandpa, they wear a necktie. Or in a game, you can have a tie. The score was 2-2, and so they would have a tie. Those are words that are homographs. They are spelled the same, but have a different meaning. Here's another one that has the same spelling, but different meanings. So dessert. So dessert has a different meaning. Now, don't get it confused with a treat after a meal. That's dessert with an extra S, so that spelling's not even the same. So here we've got a dry area with sand and a little water. Well, that's a desert. That has the same spelling. Desert and dessert have the same spelling. Now, to leave a place without making it appear empty, that can mean dessert, like we're gonna leave. So let's look at our sentence because we need to decide which of these meanings goes with this sentence. Soon, though, the playground was filled with garbage, so we had to desert it. We had to desert it. So it's not talking about the desert, and it's not talking about a treat. It's literally talking about we had to leave because there was so much garbage, we had to desert it. All right, so third grade, thanks so much for hanging out with me this morning as you're getting ready for school. I had a great time going over inflectional endings, suffixes, and homophones, or homographs. It was fantastic. I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow on PBS. Have a wonderful afternoon. See you then. Bye-bye.
A brand new day, time to learn and games to play. Learning things is so much fun. Learning is good for everyone.